remarks there. Councillor Mr Dix, you've got some public comment? Thank you, Mr. Julia. 5 minutes from now, yeah?
Okay. This contract's worth 145 million, and if it goes ahead, we're going to be stuck with it for 10 years. There have been 77 public questions tonight. In the private sector, a contract of this value, duration and complexity would warrant independent due diligence, especially in a contract that locks in the parties with a joint venture. Yet the DRS contract will be dealt with by this committee in a couple of hours. The Constitution says that you as a committee can question and gather evidence from any person with their consent. So who have you spoken to? Have you spoken to the Conservative councillors in Somerset, who have been through a joint venture with South West One, a contract that was predicated on income growth, which failed to materialise? Have you spoken to experts like APSI, who have offered repeatedly to brief you? Have you considered bringing your own independent professional advisors, such as Deloitte or Ernst & Young, given that the council have spent £6.5 million on agility impact over the last 2 years to help implement this contract? I think spending another £30,000 or £40,000 on an independent review would have been money exceptionally well spent. Residents have had no opportunity to get involved with this contract before now. And as Lord Justice Underhill put it, the council did not make any attempt to consult on whether the functions and services covered by the NSCSO and the DRS contract should be outsourced. And now, after 2 years, we get 30 minutes to ask questions. And the questions that have been asked are not trivial. They've raised very serious questions about the legality, financial risks and outcomes of this contract. Yet they have been given only cursory acknowledgement by this committee. In terms of risk, at the foot of page 38 of the business case, the report states, should any of these activities prove to be unviable, the joint venture is obliged to develop alternative proposals to meet the guaranteed financial benefit rather than it being reduced. Note it does not say capita, the joint venture of which you are a shareholder and on which board a council-appointed director will sit. With much lower cost savings and much greater income growth, it appears that Capita's strategy is to whack up charges. When residents push back on increased charges, your JV director will have to push them through or come up with an alternative. I'm sure that some of you will say, as you did with the NSCSO contract, we haven't read the contract because the officers and the professional advisors have done that for us. Sorry, Bob, that just isn't good enough. I thought you were here to provide checks and balances and challenges to the officers who've been working on this contract, the same officers who you are now relying on to advise you to accept this contract. Why would they do anything other than advise you to accept it? The council has stated that you will not sign either this or the NSCSO contract until the outcome of the judicial review appeal has been determined. Given that the appeal will not be heard until the 15th of July, I don't see why this committee cannot take a little more time to instruct an independent specialist to review the contract and over a series of meetings look in intensive detail at the contract. It would allow you to involve the public a great deal more in the scrutiny process. You might actually find that residents have a lot to contribute to the process. I note that Councillor Ram said, a risk is a risk worth taking. Well, I disagree with that. I'd like to see the evidence before I take a risk, and I haven't seen that so far. Sadly, I suspect you're going to just rubber stamp this vague and superficial report, but I hope not. Please, please prove me wrong.
Any questions? Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. You spoke very briefly about the independent advice. And, how independent, in your estimation, are Trowers and Hamlin, given that they wrote it? I mean, the idea that they're independent in reviewing this, having written it, it's like an author reviewing his own book.
Precisely, and it's one of the questions I asked. Clearly they say, well, they are independent because they're lawyers, but I can't see how it's independent, and I think it raises very serious concerns of conflict of interest.
Absolutely.